know, and it breaks my heart sometimes to see sisters that's like, well, he's not paying his child support, so I'm not going to let him see his child.
Go with the white man, okay? Because this is where I've been. Okay,
Mhm.
everybody knows that daddies matter too, not black daddies, not Mexican daddies, not whatever. All daddies matter.
Right.
So, in our situation,
What's up, young scholars? This the Dad Cypher.
I
Mm.
wish you that we would understand that now that we know what's wrong, that the system did this and that to take the fathers out of the home, to
Mhm.
disparage black families and to whatever. But now that we know that, let's work at not discussing what we already know, but how about let's move in a path that is the antithesis of things that we already know.
Mm. You know what? Preaching right there, because you know that's one of the things I know. With we as you know, dads, I would say as a dad of color, you know, we of course we know it's historical trauma, is you know, it's traumas that's from systemic racism and that sort of thing. But when it comes down to it, you know, we have the power now to you know change, and I think we could change the world through the way that we change our relationships in our families and that sort of thing.
Not we can
Mhm.
change it.
Right.
Just it just you are the start. You already started. You know, me getting to know you through the time that I have, you figured out what went wrong and you work tirelessly to make sure that it doesn't happen with you and yours.
Yeah.
So now all we have to do is find each other. And then you have to induct the people who are drawn to that kind of fixing it. We got off track there about I would say maybe 80s, 90s, somewhere in there. We got
Mhm.
off track. The fatherhood thing went haywire.
Oh yeah.
You know, back in the 60s and 70s, if somebody said you were the dad, your name was on the birth certificate and you just had to figure it out later.
Right.
80s and 90s, somewhere, I don't know where everybody went or everybody thought that they had a choice. I think that's what happened.
Well, you know, Michelle Alexander has it in her book, like The New Jim Crow. She said, like, what happened to the black dads in particular is a lot of them were victims of the quote unquote war on drugs, you know, during the Reagan era. And you know, and then so while the black woman was being labeled as the proverbial welfare queen, the black man was labeled as deadbeat. But what we had was a lot of dead broke fathers. And as a result, and then you bring crack cocaine into the equation and the lack of economics in the community. And I have to say this, you know,
No, you
unfortunately,
lost the lack. We lost the lack of relationship.
yeah, we
We
lost that.
the money thing is a secondary thing. We lost the relationships between us. We let somebody get in the middle. This is the black father and this is the black mommy, and we let somebody get in the middle of our relationship. So there's
Right.
no touching. As long as we talk it out, nothing can touch us. That's why I said remain, open and honest, and communication is important. But keep your wits about you. Don't let something get in the middle.
And you know what? And I would say this too with that 80s and 90s, because of that, a lot of people don't realize that we also had an absence of black moms in that time period too. Like the same way that our white brothers and sisters, for the most part, are being impacted by the opioids movement. That's the same way it impacted the black community when it come a black and Latino community when it came to crack cocaine. It just kind of wiped us out, and you had kids that were raising themselves or grandparents that were raising kids. And you know, I'm a grandparent kid myself, you know, and that sort of thing. But it's a time that we endured. It showed us our resilience, but now it's time to get it together. And I want to say this, I'm glad you brought up the point about finances should not be the only thing. I think sometimes we reduce our relationships with one another, especially when it comes to father to child, with this whole idea of money. And and it breaks my heart sometimes to see sisters that's like, well, he's not paying his child support, so I'm not going to let him see his child. You're hurting the child,
Well,
but
you're hurting two people. You're hurting the father and you're hurting the child. Now, I know getting back at him is what you want, but you have collateral damage. So, finances, my dad took us to the lake and we used to swim around at the lake. We would take bologna sandwiches and cheese sandwiches out to the park. Lorenzi State Park is a park here in the west side of Vegas. We used to go and he would buy a loaf of bread and we would feed the ducks. It's against the law now. You get charged, but back in my day, I just wanted I don't want nobody inboxing me about you can't do that now. I know that. They just passed the law that you can't feed the wild animals here in Nevada. But we used to do that, and that didn't cost a lot of money. That was free. And I remember a time when my mom and my dad, they got into like the worst fight ever. Okay, it was like a bad fight. I even got hit with a gun. It was by accident, but I got hit, right? Because I jumped in the way. And well, so my mom kicked my dad out. She didn't stop him from coming to see us though. She didn't
wow.
stop him from coming to pick us up and getting us and taking us to where we, would feed the ducks at the park for, $1.10. But I remember that. So I never remember a time when he wasn't there. And that's the relationship. It's not boiled down to money. Everybody thinks it is, but it's not. COVID should have told you that. That, you know what I'm saying? It's not
Right.
about money. You have enough, of course, to keep yourself above water, to keep your internet on in case you want to watch TV these days. But really, it's about spending time together. Like me, getting ready to go fill my car up with gas and take my son out driving.
Mm.
That doesn't take a lot of money because when I say fill my car up, people, I mean like $5 or $6. Okay, once he
Now, you know what, Brenda, you stay in Vegas. Where can you go with $5 of gas in Vegas?
you can go everywhere. Man, you could do it now. You can't go multiple days in a row, but you can definitely go one day and get around with $5 to $6 in gas. I'm just telling y'all. Put that on your charts.
So thanks so much. We're gonna get into like some fun stuff. So I know you've been living out into Vegas for a long time, and I also know that you're a diehard, unfortunately, cowboy or cowgirls
You
football
better
fan.
watch it before you be talking to this thing right here.